Good afternoon. A large sinkhole has snarled traffic in Markham and could create problems for the foreseeable future.
The sinkhole opened up on Warden south of Major Mackenzie and has created a traffic headache. CTV's Jon Woodward has been following the cleanup effort and joins us live with more. John.
Well, Nathan, we can tell you that there has been Works Department staff on scene taking a look at what this is all about. We'll just show you here. You can see the roadway right in the middle where it's sort of buckled. That's the issue here. And on the west side of that buckling, there's a fairly substantial hole in the road. So it's been shut off. It's just not safe for traffic in this area. Now, police were called to this area overnight when this was first discovered, so they've had to close off the road as a safety precaution. We've reached out to the Works Department in Markham to find out, how this happened, what will happen next, and how long it will take to repair this situation. But at this point, it could be a while. They've got the road taped off at Major Mac and then about 500 meters down Warden south on Warden. This is a large, busy area of traffic, almost like a highway area, but Warden is a major thoroughfare, so this could be an issue for people heading home from work. They'll have to avoid this area until they can figure out what they're going to do here and how long it will take. But from just what we're seeing, this looks like it could be an extensive amount of work taking place here today. Reporting live on the scene, I'm Jon Woodward. I'll send it back to you.
It looks like it. Thank you, John. Gas prices have risen again as the war in the Middle East rages on. Prices increased by roughly 5 cents a liter overnight. Dan McTagg with Canadians for Affordable Energy is predicting prices could rise by another 2 cents tomorrow. However, diesel dropped about 4 cents overnight and are expected to fall another 7 cents tomorrow. Still to come, the latest on the situation on the ground in the Middle East. We'll have more on an address by U.S. President Donald Trump this evening about the future of the war a little later in the newscast.
Police have arrested a suspect in connection with an arson investigation at the University of Toronto. 27-year-old Omari Douglas is charged with arson, mischief over $5,000, and failing to comply with a probation order. He is accused of setting a vehicle on fire at St. George campus early yesterday morning. The vehicle suffering significant damage, but no injuries were reported.
Lawyers are continuing their final submissions today in the sexual assault trial of billionaire businessman Frank Stronach. Yesterday, Stronach's lawyer argued his accusers lied and in some cases fabricated their accounts. Crown prosecutors say any inconsistencies in the complainant's testimony does not affect the core of their allegations. At the start of the trial, Stronach pleaded not guilty to 12 charges related to 7 complainants. Over the course of the trial, prosecutors have dropped the number of charges, meaning Stronach is now only facing 5 charges in relation to 3 complainants.
In another legal matter, prosecutors are set to argue today that a judge made the wrong decision by granting bail to a Thornhill lawyer accused of advising the murder of a federal witness. Lawyers are asking the Court of Appeal to order that Deepak Paradkar be detained until his extradition hearing. In documents filed in February, the Crown says the appeals court intervention is necessary to salvage the public's confidence in the administration of justice. Paradkar was arrested as part of an FBI investigation into former Canadian Olympic snowboarder and alleged drug kingpin Ryan Wedding. A rally is being held outside the office of the Chief Medical Officer of Ontario this hour.
Demonstrators are protesting the closure of supervised consumption sites. The province is replacing with facilities called heart hubs. CTV Jon Woodward has been following the rally and joins us with more. John.
Yeah, Nathan, I'm standing here on University Avenue, and you can see behind me a group of people just gearing up to start that rally where they say they will be reading the names of people who've died from overdoses from the toxic drug supply, as well as mourning the loss of the supervised consumption sites. Since last April, 14 of them have closed across Ontario, with more slated to close. As you said, the Ford government plans to replace them with heart hubs. Here's what one of them had to say earlier today.
We all know so many people who have died. Part of what we're here to do today is to commemorate the people that we've lost, and we will be saying their names out loud. You will hear a large number of names of people that we have lost to the toxic drug supply crisis.
Last week, we learned a new figures highlighted by researchers that increased paramedics' calls for overdoses since those sites shut down. Emergency room visits that had been on their way down by 47%, now up 67%. Meanwhile, opioid-related deaths, as counted by Ontario's coroner, were at 108 in April 2025. That had risen in October 2025 to 129, with researchers telling us at the time that they were trending in the wrong direction. Now, the Ontario government says it's building a system without supervised consumption sites called heart hubs, saying the total number of people dying from addictions, of opioid fatalities is on its way down. And here's a quote from them saying, instead of giving people tools to use harmful illegal drugs, our government is helping people break the tragic cycle of drug addiction by making record investments in more mental health and wraparound supports. So the people here at this rally say that whatever those harm reductions are doing, they say they are missing that key ingredient of keeping people alive, preventing people from dying of overdoses until they are able to seek other help. Reporting live from University Avenue, I'm Jon Woodward. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, John. Minimum wage earners in Ontario will get a raise in October, but advocates say the hourly rate will remain far lower than what is needed to live in the GTA. Ontario's minimum wage is set to rise to $17.95 per hour on October 1st, which is an increase of 35 cents. That equates to an extra $728 a year for someone who makes minimum wage and works 40 hours a week. The province boosts the wage annually based on inflation. However, the Ontario Living Wage Network says a living wage for the GTA would be $27.20 per hour. Time for a first look at the forecast as we take a live look at the city this afternoon. Noticeably cooler out there, but the trade-off is dry conditions, maybe even some sunshine. Not seeing much in the skyline at this hour. Lindsay, is it coming?
We hope so, Michelle. We're crossing our fingers because that would make for a nice afternoon tonight with seasonal temperatures. Yeah, not as warm as the last couple of days, but you hit the nail on the head. It is dry for this afternoon. We're at 2 degrees right now. There is a bit of a wind chill factor. It feels like -4. And while it's cloud cover for us, we're going to watch for a few showers for communities just along that north shore of Lake Erie today. Northerly winds, part of the reason for the cool down. And yeah, those winds are a little bit breezy. Here's today at a glance. 7 degrees is what we're forecasting. So yes, a little cooler than normal. We're also keeping an eye on the weather in Florida today because, of course, we have NASA's Artemis II mission scheduled to launch this evening. Weather conditions look pretty good in my opinion, but there's a whole lot more on this news story coming up throughout the newscast. And of course, we will have your weather for a little closer to home coming up as well. For now, Nathan, sending it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Canada will be facing Bosnia-Herzegovina in its World Cup opener after the Balkan nation stunned Italy in their qualifying match.
Can send Bosnia and Herzegovina to the World Cup. And he does! It got underneath Donnarumma. The Italian curse continues. Bosnia and Herzegovina will play in the FIFA World Cup.
Bosnia-Herzegovina beat Italy on penalty kicks to earn their spot in the World Cup's main draw. They'll play Canada in the first match at BMO Field, which will be called Toronto Stadium during the tournament on June 12th. Meanwhile, resale tickets for the match between Canada and Bosnia-Herzegovina will come at a steep cost. The cheapest tickets are currently going for nearly $2,000. FIFA's official resale marketplace has been closed since February 22nd and will not reopen until tomorrow. That means secondary ticket platforms are currently the only option for fans trying to go to the game. And Canadian soccer fans are being warned about ticket scams for upcoming matches in both Toronto and Vancouver.
CTV's Adrian Gabriel has more on how scammers are trying to take advantage of the World Cup excitement.
David steps up and finishes coolly.
The authenticity of Canada's men's soccer team is well documented, yet the lead up to co-hosting the World Cup is now fraught with fraud.
Fraudsters try to capitalize on vulnerabilities. They know that so many Canadians and people outside of Canada want to attend these events.
The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre confirms they're now working with the RCMP, Vancouver and Toronto police ahead of this June's World Cup as they work to weed out bad actors across the country and beyond.
I was embarrassed to even tell my wife, and I was actually embarrassed to do this interview, to be fair, because I'm in my 40s, man.
Adonis Ibrahim runs a rec soccer league in Windsor, Ontario. Like many, he's desperate to get his hands on a World Cup ticket. He ended up on Facebook Marketplace, where he shared that he was looking for a single ticket to Canada's opener in Toronto. Someone, apparently named Ava Green, sent Ibrahim this message. They agreed on a price of $400, half of which he paid up front. The tickets never arrived.
I was taken advantage of, and I'm doing this because I don't want it to happen to anyone else.
Fans are also being duped into paying for World Cup rental properties that don't exist. Counterfeit merchandise is also on the rise. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre is advising individuals to only use FIFA's verified exchange platform for resale tickets. Avoid third-party sites selling tickets and merchandise. For short-term rentals, be cautious if the price appears too good to be true. Use a credit card with fraud protection whenever possible when making a purchase.
Don't get scammed. It's not a good feeling.
With Team Canada preparing to take on the world, Ibrahim has been left still searching for a single ticket to fulfill a lifelong dream.
There are still some more affordable, legitimate tickets available for the two upcoming friendlies in Edmonton and Montreal before Team Canada officially kicks off its World Cup right here at BMO Field on June 12th. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Well, today's a big day for space travel. Preparations are underway in Florida for the launch of NASA's Artemis II mission.
Now, that launch window opens at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time this evening. Teams do have a 2-hour launch window.
The rocket is fueled up ahead of the anticipated launch this evening. Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen is set to make history as part of the 4-member crew. He will become the first Canadian and first non-American to leave low Earth orbit. And CTV's Heather Wright is right in the middle of the action near the launch site in Cape Canaveral, Florida. She joins us live with more. Heather, what an exciting day. Still looks like everything's going ahead as planned. What's the mood like? What's the atmosphere like there?
There's a lot of excitement here. A lot of media here, a lot of, members of the Canadian Space Agency, other members of the space industry that are here that we've been able to talk to just to get a sense of how exciting this is, not only for NASA, the astronauts, but also for Canada as well, to have a Canadian that is heading up to the moon, the first crewed mission to the moon since 1972. So there's excitement. There's also anticipation. Of course, 6 hours to go, according to this countdown clock. Still a lot of things that need to be checked off the list when it comes to making sure that this mission is ready to go. But so far, so good is what we're hearing from NASA.
We're looking at live images now. Let's talk about the astronauts themselves. Can you imagine going on a mission to the moon? What's happening with them in the hours ahead?
Well, they've been in quarantine, Michelle, for several days now. And I spoke with another Canadian astronaut, Joshua Kuttrick, yesterday, who basically said, they're on this very intense and regulated sleep schedule. But he said, if you were going to the moon, would you be sleeping the night before? And so they are being, diligently monitored from their health perspective, from what they're eating, from how much they're sleeping. We know that they woke up this morning, they had breakfast, they had medical checks, and then they will start this process of getting into their spacesuits. They will be taken to the rocket. They will get on the rocket about 4 hours before the launch window opens, and everything is in order and is meticulously planned. Of course, that is to ensure that this goes off without a hitch and there are no safety concerns. So definitely a lot of things that still do need to happen, but again, the weather seems to be cooperating for now, so that's a really good sign as we tick ever closer to that launch window.
And when that launch window arrives and the rocket takes off, if all goes to plan, what is the mission to the moon? What are the plans?
Well, it's a 10-day mission overall. The crew is going to orbit the Earth a couple of times before blasting off towards the moon. And the reason for that is they want to test everything within the spacecraft. This is a brand new spacecraft. It has never taken a crewed mission to the moon. And so really, this is a test run in many respects. And so part of that first day or so will be testing the spacecraft, making sure everything's working right, making sure there are no issues. Then once they get the clear, the go-ahead, they will
will blast off to the moon. They're going to do basically a figure 8 around the moon, go to the dark side, the far side of the moon, and they're going to see it from an angle that no humans have ever seen it before. They're going to be at a specific angle that they'll see the entire moon, and that's going to allow them to take photos of that area so that researchers and NASA and other space agencies can have a better idea of what is happening on the moon right now, what resources are there, where are good landing spots for when the next crewed mission goes up with the goal of landing on the moon in 2028. So a lot of this mission has to do with figuring things out, taking things for a test drive, if you will, and getting things ready for the next mission, which is planned to take humans back to the moon in 2028.
It's just the beginning, and you have a front row seat, Heather. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Have fun today. Look forward to hearing from you again. CTV's Heather Wright, live in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Meanwhile, the King has sent his best wishes to Jeremy Hansen, saying in part, "It is with immense pride and a profound sense of shared purpose that I write to you as you prepare to embark on the Artemis II mission. As the first Canadian to venture to the moon, you carry not only the hopes of your fellow Canadians and the Commonwealth, but also the aspirations of humanity itself. In this historic moment, you stand as a bridge between nations and generations, and I commend you for the courage, discipline, and vision that have brought you to this threshold."
Well, Easter is quickly approaching and chocolate prices are on the rise. CTV's Scott Hurst has been monitoring the price fluctuations and joins us live with more. Scott, I remember the prices really jacked up a couple of years ago, and now it seems like it's happening again.
Nathan, no judgment for viewers who might find themselves overindulging on Easter chocolate over the next couple of days, because there's a very good chance I might be doing the same. However, don't expect to be finding any deals on some of those sweet treats leading up to Easter, as we've seen chocolate prices on the rise, even as cocoa prices have been plummeting. We'll get to an explanation in just a minute, but first, the price you pay, specifically chocolate prices, are up compared to this time last year, roughly 15% on average. Now, the price of cocoa over the past month has risen some 8%, but it's actually down significantly over the past year, some 60% lower, as prices reached record highs in 2024 with poor weather wiping out crops, and in the wake of that, prices soared. So the big question, why is the price you pay for chocolate still so elevated when cocoa prices have been dropping significantly? Well, industry analysts point to time. Easter chocolate in stores today, the rows upon rows of Easter eggs and chocolate bunnies were produced months ago, so inventory is still priced to cover those higher costs. Now, small producers say they're doing their best not to cut corners on quality.
I'm seeing the costs go up, but I'm also seeing more filler ingredients go into the products, palm oil, just more sugar, and less cocoa and less cocoa butter, and you really taste it in the quality of the chocolate. So that's something we've tried to avoid here. You know, every day I make a decision. Do I continue to use a top quality product? And for me, the answer is yes, absolutely.
So, Nathan, of course, we're all likely seeing so much chocolate in the grocery store aisles over the past few days or weeks leading up to Easter, but as I mentioned, not likely to find any deals on any of that chocolate at the moment.
All right, so what other impacts are Canadians seeing at the grocery store?
Well, of course, we've known that rising prices have significantly impacted our buying decisions, and that is particularly acute when it comes to the grocery aisle. As we know, overall food inflation remains quite elevated. Beef and poultry prices have climbed significantly over the past year. And of course, right now, there are fears of inflation spiking yet again due to the war in Iran. We've already seen the immediate impact on the price of gas directly hitting our wallets already. So if you're gathering for Easter or gathering for Passover, no doubt a lot of people, Nathan, will be noticing just how much more they'll have to pay to travel and how much more they'll have to pay to entertain and put on a holiday spread for friends and family, Nathan.
All right, good to know. CTV's Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
The federal government will refund passport fees to applicants if processing times exceed 30 business days under a new service guarantee. The policy, announced earlier this week, takes effect today. The clock will start when a complete application is received and when the passport is printed and verified. Mailing time is not included. The guarantee does not apply in all cases, excluding some administrative services or urgent applications.
The federal government's Buy Canadian policy has been flagged in a U.S. government report as a significant barrier to American exports. The policy was put in place to ensure Canadian bids are prioritized in government contracts worth $25 million or more. The new report from the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative also identified several other trade irritants between Canada and the U.S. For more on the report, we're joined live by CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver in Ottawa. So, Annie, what are the other so-called trade irritants highlighted in this report?
Hi, Nathan. Well, there are a number of trade irritants that are highlighted in this report. It talks about supply management and how tariffs on dairy can make it very difficult and challenging for American dairy producers to get their products into Canada. It talks about the fact that they'd like more energy from Alberta specifically to get to Montana. It talks about the Online Streaming Act, how it prioritizes Canadian content, but also puts taxes that have to be paid by Americans. But really the big part here is the Buy Canadian policy, as you talked about in your opening remarks. It says that this policy is unfair to American businesses, that American businesses have concerns about it being far more challenging to bid and potentially get accepted for bids on Canadian contracts. And that's because, as you mentioned, this Buy Canadian policy that's been in place since 2025 was basically, it mandates the federal government departments, Crown corporations, and the Defense Department to prioritize and use Canadian steel, aluminum, and wood in major contracts worth $25 million and more. And what's interesting here, though, Nathan, is that this was done really because Carney said that the Canadian industries needed support because they were being really hard hit by American tariffs. And the changes are really kind of specific towards steel, aluminum, and wood. That's where the Buy Canadian policies really focus on. The Americans have had Buy America policies since the Joe Biden administration, but their Buy America policies are much wider than the Canadian ones are. But they still have the same policies, yet for some reason it seems like they're very unhappy that Canada has issued a mandate to, have their own Buy Canadian policies.
Also, beer and wine are back in the headlines. What's happening there?
So this was another so-called trade irritant that was highlighted in this report, which was for Congress and for the U.S. president. They say that since many retailers in Canada, most provinces, in fact, including the LCBO, are no longer selling American goods, that this is hampering the ability of American beer, wine, and spirits to be imported into Canada. They say that this is an unfair practice, and the Americans want this practice ended immediately, and they want all American beer, wine, and spirits back on the shelves in Canada. Again, this is actually something that's happening in most provinces. Alberta and Saskatchewan have not stopped selling American booze, but, in the LCBO, for example, normally they purchase about $1 billion annually worth of American booze, and that is not happening. In Ontario, Doug Ford said this decision back in March 2025 was a way to push back against America for their strong tariffs that were hurting Canadian workers and Canadian industries. He said this was, again, a way to prop up the Canadian economy, prop up Canadian businesses, and to kind of show the Americans that Ontario wanted to push back. Again, this is another so-called trade irritant by the Americans. They say that this policy needs to be over, and they want to see American booze on the shelves across Canada immediately and permanently, Nathan.
All right, we'll see. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver in Ottawa. Thank you.
Thank you.
U.S. President Donald Trump says his new Iranian counterpart has asked for a ceasefire in the ongoing war between the two nations and Israel.
This comes as Trump is said to address the U.S. tonight after previously signaling an end to the conflict was in sight.
I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3, we're hitting them very hard.
The Trump says the U.S. could leave the conflict even if there's no deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He says responsibility for the key shipping route could shift to countries that rely on it for oil. Yesterday, Trump expressed frustration with allies who he says have been unwilling to do more to support the U.S. war effort, telling them to go get your own oil.
Multiple buildings were hit by airstrikes in the Iranian capital of Tehran today. Several people were injured, but there have been no reports of fatalities. U.S. and Israeli officials say airstrikes have also been targeting steel complexes in central and southwestern Iran.
Meanwhile, Iran attacked a fully loaded Kuwaiti oil tanker, which was anchored at a port in Dubai. Authorities in Dubai say the tanker was struck by a drone, sparking a fire on board. However, all 24 crew members were not injured.
Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has pushed back against Trump's criticism of NATO as he tries to ease concerns over rising energy costs.
This is not our war. We will not be drawn into the conflict. That is not in our national interest. And the most effective way we can support the cost of living in Britain is to push for de-escalation in the Middle East. Your wages.
Starmer says the UK will host a summit on the Strait of Hormuz. He says Britain is fully committed to NATO, calling it the single most effective military alliance the world has ever seen.
In Japan, April 1st kicks off a time widely regarded as a fresh start. And 5 new recruits took part in a unique welcoming ceremony at an aquarium in the city of Toba. They dressed in business suits and carried oxygen tanks, and they joined fish and coral in one of the tanks. The group received letters of appointment, and they will soon begin work as aquarium keepers. The attraction houses more than 1,200 species and has been holding underwater welcome ceremonies for nearly 20 years. Lindsay.
And as we say hello to April, we take a look back at the month of March. And you know what? After a very snowy winter, March offered a whole lot more in the way of rainfall. Nearly 100 millimeters of it recorded in Toronto. In fact, our warmest day was just the other day on Monday at nearly 22 degrees. A new month means new norms, and here's a look at what we expect on average in the month of April. I'll draw your attention to snow. We generally do pick up roughly 4 centimeters of it in April. What does our 7-day forecast have in store? We're going to take you through the Easter long weekend after the break here on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Strings from Paris, a Toronto-based musical group, is blending classical instruments and modern music. Their sound has been featured in the hit TV show Bridgerton. And they've just returned from the Junos and are at rehearsal. And that is where we find our Jessica Smith this hour. Hey, Jess.
Hey, Michelle. It is the perfect blend of your favorite songs and classical instruments. And I have to say, I'm a big fan of this group. And they just got back from the Junos. And if you've watched Bridgerton, which I feel like most people have at this point, you've heard at least some of their music. And I want to introduce you to the band Strings from Paris. I'm going to start with Miss Madeline. I want to ask you, what was it like, you know, coming off of Bridgerton, heading into the Junos, and getting to kind of share what you guys love with so many people?
Oh my gosh, it's been absolutely amazing. We love Bridgerton. Shout out to Justin Camps, the music supervisor, and to Melissa Cameron Passley, who put this all together for us, got us the opportunity. But yeah, just playing on the Juno stage with the Beaches was absolutely amazing. And, you know, Aaron getting his award for Lotus Land, the Instrumental Album of the Year, which we all played on as well. It's been amazing.
Oh, Aaron over here, kind of the mastermind behind this group. Talk to me about why you wanted to have this blend of classical, you know, instruments and modern music, and from 2022, 23, when you guys started all this to now, just how much you've grown.
Yeah, I mean, we all started this because we noticed something wrong with the classical world, and that it holds on to tradition very tightly and pushes away young audiences and young students. So we wanted to create a space where classical music could coincide and evolve with modern styles. To hopefully create a culture around classical music that we love and is more inclusive. And so to see it where it's grown so much, it's been amazing.
Hey, Adrian, I'll come over to you. I want to ask you, when you guys got the call about Bridgerton, what was that like?
I mean, we were super excited. It was incredible because even having that.
All right, few audio issues there. So frustrating, especially on a music story.
I was trying to figure, is that the strings? But it was our microphones messing things up.
They sound way better than that. Yes, that's for sure.
All right, so of course it's the first of the month, and generally speaking, things are getting better.
I think we're singing songs of spring now. A new month, turning the page on the calendar, a little sunshine hopefully peeking out to go along with it.
Yeah, we're working on it. I don't know if this forecast is going to be music to our ears. However, I will assure you there are no April Fool's jokes in this forecast either. We're just going to tell it how it is. And yes, today we hope to see a little bit of sun. It is a cooler day compared to the last couple. Tomorrow, even cooler, but hey, Friday, we're back up around 20 degrees. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. All the rain the last couple of days has led to some flooding issues in parts of Ontario. We take you now to the Grand River watershed. This specifically is in the West Montrose area. This is an area notorious for flooding at this time of year. And yeah, when you have a couple of days, rounds of thunderstorms. In the case of yesterday, I believe we had 4 rounds of thunderstorms in southern Ontario. This can be the result. Today, there is rain impacting communities just along the north shoreline of Lake Erie, but for the most part, this system is staying south of us. We're getting the cloud spillover, and there is a little bit of mixing that appears to be happening in Windsor, Ontario right now. I'm setting this in motion just to show you the rounds, the one low after another that's going to be impacting us here in southern Ontario. That one for Thursday, Friday. This next one as we make our way into Saturday, Sunday. No particular day over the next few is looking like a washout. For tomorrow, for example, anywhere from 2 to maybe 6 millimeters of rain is what we're expecting. So that's not as much as we've seen with those embedded storms. And today, the hope is that we're going to see some of this cloud cover clear, hopefully a mix of sun and cloud for the second half of the afternoon. Then into Thursday, it is a mostly cloudy day. By around the noon hour, we're starting to see showers, maybe even a little bit of freezing rain in some areas mixing in. And then Friday morning, another line of showers or storms is going to move in for the, I was going to say the AM drive, but it is Good Friday, so many people are going to be on holidays. Here's a look at what you can expect into Friday afternoon. Some clearing expected once again. So that's how it's going to go here over the next few days. We've got showers in the forecast most days, but then we'll also have dry periods and maybe even a little bit of sun. +2 is where we find ourselves right now as far as the temperature is concerned. Hoping to make it to an afternoon high of 7 degrees. A little sun would help with that. Evening temperature +5, overnight low 2 degrees. And then tomorrow, this is looking like now one of our cooler days this week. 4 degrees for you in Innisfil, 5 in Caledon, and +4 in the Gravenhurst area with, yes, once again, some showers or storms expected. 7-day forecast. So there's Friday. Our expected high is about 21 degrees. Still going to be mild for Saturday, not nearly as mild, but 12 degrees is still warmer than normal. Sunday, hopefully a little more in the way of sun, a high of 6 degrees, and then more in the way of a mix of sun and cloud for Monday. It's looking like a nice day, but it will be cooler. Daytime highs for both Monday and Tuesday of around 3 degrees. That's the weather for now. Michelle, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Jewish communities will be observing Passover beginning this evening.
York Regional Police have deployed command posts throughout the region in an effort to support the community. CB24's Beatrice Vaisman joins us live now with more details on this. Beatrice.
Nathan, Michelle, good afternoon. This comes about a month after 3 synagogues, 2 in Toronto, 1 here in Thornhill, just a stone's throw away here from the Garnet A. Williams Community Centre, where I'm standing at Clark and Bathurst, were shot at, really, in the middle of the night. Thankfully, no one was injured, but it caused kind of a heightened sense of urgency when it comes to making sure that Jewish community members feel safe. And so that's why, starting today, right through the end of Passover on April 9th, York Regional Police are stepping up their patrols, and they'll also have command posts stationed at various community centers, places of worship and the like throughout the next 8 days in hopes of making people not only feel safer, but to be an outlet for members of the community to come to have conversations with these officers at command posts to share their concerns. If they saw something, to share that with police. And really, not only is it an exchange of information, but it's also an exchange of trust, because when community members have a trusting relationship with police, they're more likely to report any crimes or mishaps they might see, and vice versa. Police want community members to know that they are there for their needs at times of need, especially when we've seen the rise of anti-Semitism happening right across not only Thornhill, Toronto, across the entire country over the course of the last several years. So I've been talking to community members here in Thornhill about how they're feeling and if they feel safer with a boosted police presence. And so here's a bit of what I heard.
Definitely much safer for obvious reasons. If there aren't the police presence here, then we're more at risk.
The shots that happened, as you know, happened in the middle of the night, so clearly it's people who do have some fear, and so hopefully police presence will help keep them away and keep everybody safe.
And so that's just a bit of what I've heard. I mean, I went over to a grocery store a few feet away from where I'm standing right now, talking to shoppers who are shopping for their first Passover Seder tonight. All of them telling me unequivocally they do feel safer by seeing more police officers, more patrols in the area. They're thankful for that, but also not convinced it's going to make a difference, because I heard over and over again, if someone wants to do something, they will, even if it's in the middle of the night when no one's present. Thankfully, there were no injuries in those synagogue shootings. So today here at Garnet A. Williams, there's going to be a command post till 8 o'clock, and then over at 9,600 Bathurst, that's at Bathurst and Rutherford and Maple, a second command post, and they'll rotate throughout the entire region between now and April 9th. Reporting live in Thornhill, I'm Beatrice Baseman. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Beatrice. Still to come, the Blue Jays wrap up their series with the Colorado Rockies this afternoon. We'll have a preview when we come back.
Kevin Gosman will be back on the mound as the Blue Jays wrap up their 3-game set with the Colorado Rockies this afternoon.
Line drive, base hit. Racing around third, Miles Straw on his way to the plate. It is 3-1.
The Jays scored 3 times in the bottom of the 7th inning last night as they beat the Rockies 5-1. First pitch for the final game of this series is set for next hour, 1:07 p.m. at Rogers Center. Meanwhile, the Jays will be without starter Cody Ponce for a significant amount of time. He sprained the ACL in his right knee on Monday. Ponce was making his first MLB start since 2021 when he injured his knee attempting to field a ground ball. The team has placed him on a 15-day injured list, but there is no clear timetable for his return.
The Raptors slipped to 6th place in the Eastern Conference, but hope to bounce back tonight when they host the Sacramento Kings.
Ingram has it on top. Little show and go move and a fall away, and he fills it up.
The team's coming off a 127-116 loss to the Detroit Pistons last night. Tip-off for tonight's game against the Kings is set for just after 8 at Scotiabank Arena.
The Scepters will be fighting for a playoff spot when they face off with the Ottawa Charge tonight.
Fast, walks the line, top of the circle, off the pad, another chance, Turnbull, Toronto scores!
The team lost 3-2 to the Vancouver Golden Eyes Sunday. Puck drop for tonight's game against Ottawa is set for just after 9:30 in Calgary. The game is part of the PWHL's Takeover Tour, which sees the league play in cities without a team across North America.
Still to come, Apple is marking a major milestone. We'll have more on the tech giant's 50th anniversary when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The hockey community in southwestern Ontario is rallying around a young player diagnosed with a form of brain cancer.
Now, a sticker campaign is offering support to 9-year-old Harrison Yashi as he battles the disease. CTV's Karis Mapp reports.
It was after a fall on the ice during hockey practice around Christmas time that Harrison Yashi first experienced symptoms. The 9-year-old is a member of the Kitchener Junior Rangers U10 AAA team.
It wasn't until later that night when we were coming home that he started being a little bit disoriented, started showing some signs of what we presumed was a concussion.
Following a series of CT scans, an optometry exam that showed pressure behind Harrison's optic nerve, and an MRI, it was discovered that Harrison had 2 tumors on his brain, the diagnosis coming at the start of February.
Diffuse midline glioma. It's rare. He has an aggressive mutation.
Harrison recently completed 30 days of radiation, keeping the same enthusiasm he brought to the ice into treatment.
He wore a very brave face. Which, as parents, we struggle doing that.
The impact of Harrison's journey is being felt across the community and much of southwestern Ontario thanks to a sticker campaign that launched right here at McPhail's in Uptown Waterloo. Jordan Bonneville has known Cody since the two went to high school and played hockey together.
He had an idea of putting Harrison's name on some Kitchener Rangers stickers and some Waterloo Wolf stickers. From that point on, we started printing the stickers nonstop for weeks at a time.
An estimated 3,000 to 4,000 stickers have been printed and sent all over.
London, some went to Strathroy, some went to Chatham, some went to Windsor.
If you've been at a rink, you've probably seen Harrison's sticker on the back of a helmet on a hockey stick. The Kitchener Rangers have them on their helmets. It's been remarkable.
The Rangers even going above and beyond to make Harrison feel like he's part of the team.
He looks up to those guys. He thinks they're professionals. So for him to feel included has just truly brightens his day.
Numerous community members and hockey teams also contributing to a GoFundMe set up to support the family. And as people hear of Harrison's story, they've found ways to help lift his spirits.
He gets mail now. Kids send him hockey cards or just small little tokens like that.
And when he's feeling up to it, Harrison now returns to the ice to be back with his team.
You hear people say you never know when the last time you'll tie their skates. So it's been special.
Karis Mapp, CTV News, Kitchener.
Tech giant Apple is marking a major milestone today. The company celebrating its 50th anniversary. It was founded on this date in 1976 by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, who signed a two-page partnership to create the Apple Computer Company. The business is currently worth nearly $4 trillion.
Coming up, creating competition in the skilled trades. An Ontario high school gave students an opportunity to showcase their talents in an effort to promote skilled trades careers. Promoting skilled trades through competition. A high school in southwestern Ontario gave students a chance to showcase their skills.
All part of an effort to promote careers in the field, which will soon be in high demand. CTV's Scott Miller reports.
Future carpenters, welders, and electricians strutted their stuff at a Skills Ontario competition in Listowel last week, vying for a shot at being the best of the best in all of Ontario.
They love what they do, they are talented, and it gives them a platform and an opportunity to be able to show that on a day like today, where they start with a project and finish at the end of a day and get some feedback from our judges and potentially advance to the next round for Skills Ontario, whether that's qualifying or the provincial competition in Toronto.
Making it to the provincial big competition would be a dream for competitors like grade 12 student Dylan McNeil, but it's really the sense of accomplishment that comes with building something with his mind and hands that's appealing to him.
You can have $200 worth of lumber and then you turn it into a table that somebody might pay, you know, $300-400 for, and you come here at 8 in the morning and it's just a pile of wood, and you leave with a table and bench, and it's cool to see the progression in that short time.
700,000 of Canada's 4 million skilled tradespeople will retire in the next 2 years. 100,000 of those will be required in Ontario alone, just in the construction industry. For years, skilled trades simply wasn't cool at school, but that is slowly changing.
I think about 3 years ago we started it and we had maybe 4 people, 6 people competing. Today, I think we're around the 10 to 12 people, and I'm just hearing students in the halls, how do we get to be a part of this next year? I'm like, this is exactly what we're hoping for, right? So it's going to keep growing.
Treating the skilled trades like a sport or competition does help entice some high schoolers to take the leap as well, says Froud, who is already planning for next year's Huron Perth Skills Ontario competition.
You can do it in school that's not like normal schoolwork, and you have a lot of uses for it out there in the world.
It does give them connections and network with people where potentially when they leave high school or even summer job or through an apprenticeship through OYAP, that's an opportunity where they've met someone, they've made a connection, they've shown how skilled they are in an area, and then potentially that could lead to something further down the line.
In Listowel, Scott Miller, CTV News.
Meanwhile, some people with some serious skills are preparing for an out-of-this-world mission. This is a live shot of the Artemis II rocket. The countdown is on 5 hours, 25 minutes till that launch window opens.
Yeah, the big question, Mother Nature, or is Mother Nature on board?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few factors that could determine whether or not this launch happens, but weather, of course, is a big one. So what we do know is that they've been saying, 80% likelihood of favorable conditions, 20% chance of perhaps some cumulus clouds or showers. So Florida right now at this time of year starting to heat up. There is an east wind blowing off the ocean, so that could create some cumulus clouds. And the big threat there is the possible development of lightning. That is the biggest concern. But here we see that conditions are looking pretty good into the evening in Cape Canaveral. So fingers crossed that we are able to witness this launch tonight. I know there's a 2-hour window of opportunity, I believe, for tonight. Bringing it back a little closer to home, here overnight tonight, we drop to a low of about 2 degrees. Tomorrow's high is +5. We've got a little more in the way of rain in the forecast for tomorrow. It arrives midday. Chance of a bit of mixing in some areas too. And then here's an early look at the Easter weekend, Friday through Sunday. Yes, it's going to be unsettled. Chance of showers most days. Friday is very mild at 21 degrees. We're still above seasonal Saturday at 12. And then Sunday is a little more typical of what we expect this time of year with +6. Looks like we'll get even more sunshine heading into the early days of next week. But it is going to be a little chilly again. Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.